Minor League Esports primetime Saturday night rolls on towards its exciting conclusion with one more 5-game match getting set and ready to go here. My name is Inanimate J, welcoming back to the booth the one and only Junior P Cubed as we get set to give you the Academy League Knights at the Academy League Eclipse. Another standard matchup for us, Junior. This one with two teams kind of riding that playoff bubble right now, looking to try and get themselves set up for a big playoff run in the back half of the regular season.
We talked about it in the last series, every single game counts towards the playoffs, and this one even more, especially since both these teams are riding the bubble. We've got the Knights, we've got the Eclipse. Both these teams are 4-2 in series. The Knights are third in their division, the Eclipse are second. Both these teams, again, riding that playoff line like you were talking about, Inanimate. We've got Mercury, we've got Mr. Green Jeans, we've got Sir Holdspace on the Knights, facing off against Not Henry, Pwn the Man, and Texas. Texas? Yeah, Tex. Yeah, I'm pronouncing that name right. It's going to be a fun matchup. I'm looking forward to it. Quite frankly, I have no idea which way this one swings either.
I think the wild card kind of on both sides, Tex for the Eclipse and Mr. Green Jeans for the Knights. Not a lot of games played by either one of those two so far in Standard, but both with really high win percentages. Tex sweeping their one series so far in Standard, a 4-1 win for Mr. Green Jeans. We'll get the sense, I think, within the first game or so, really where these two teams kind of sit, as neither one of them playing any of their really star players. Sir Holdspace leading the Knights offensively with 11 goals, but that's paling in comparison to the top scorer for the Eclipse, Dodgerino, with 26 goals so far on the regular season, not playing for the Eclipse here. So I think we might be in store for a more defensive kind of grind, something akin to what we saw in Game 1 last in Premier League, but kind of on a larger scale, Junior, as this one just kind of spreads out, not a lot of goals in it for either team.
Not just are there not that many goals, there's 3 people on the pitch squaring up that we've only seen them play one series so far. It really could go either way. We don't quite know how these teams are going to mesh together and the play style that they're going to try to accomplish, but that's what Game 1's for, to see which teams can come out, which teams can show up and at least prove why they deserve to be in the spot that we do. We've got the third in their division versus the second in their division, and we're hopping into game number 1 right now, just to see who's going to start off with the advantage. It's Knights versus the Eclipse kicking off right now.
Bit of a neutral kickoff to start things out, although the Knights with a little bit better of that one out from the opening. Mercury with a long shot parried away by Not Henry for the Eclipse. Kept in by Sir Holdspace. This one cleared away by Tex, and I think we're going to see a lot less of that clean rotation in Academy League compared to what we were just watching. It's a little bit squirrely, a little bit more fast-paced, but a lot less consistency when it comes to the ball hits. That doesn't make it any less exciting, Junior. This really is Rocket League in its purest form, something that a lot of people can vibe with because this really looks like what they play in ranked and casual, and that's the appeal of MLE. Anyone can get in, anyone can play.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's one thing to look at PL and hear names like Vitali or Comp and just recognize, like, these are pro players, but also down at the Academy League, I mean, you're sitting here watching, I mean, this is what my games look like as well. Everyone has a spot to play in, and right now, I think that we're seeing a gameplay that's relatively solid right now. It's certainly a little bit higher up on the tier than matchmaking at that, as these teams are starting to unify and work together as a unit, which is oh so crucial, especially down here in the Academy League. Making sure you can get consistent power on the ball, making sure you can play together with your teammates. Those are the keys to success, but right now the Eclipse are finding the better hand of that. These clears are not the strongest right now for the Knights, and this pressure continues on. Down in the gray half, this ball really not being allowed to cross the midfield zone until Sir Holdspace is able to put this down into the Eclipse corner. Starts some offense, no, runs out of boost before he can get anything going right there. Tex tries to get that one out, but he only gets the demo, doesn't find the ball at the end of it.
Good sequence of play for both teams. The Eclipse had a couple of good cracks at the Knights net. The Knights finally get this one clear. Actually get the first shot on goal recorded for either team. We get down through the first 2 minutes of play here in Game 1. Starting to get this sense, Junior, that my prediction kind of on par here. A little bit of a defensive game by either team. There isn't a lot of cohesive offensive chances. We saw the Eclipse with a couple of good looks at passing plays, but just not quite getting the mechanical consistency they need to get those shots with the real power and the accuracy that we were were seen previously as they look to set up offense once more. Tex up looking now for their drop shot. Mr. Green Jeans with a great touch away keeps that one clear for the Knights. Not out of danger yet as the Eclipse hold this one in. Green Jeans will get that one through in transition. Beats the double commit. One chance to get it center for the Knights. Won't come through quite yet as Green Jeans on the pre-flip won't get contact.
Can almost feel like the walls of the defensive castle that the Knights are residing in right now, it's just starting to crumble a little bit, but they're also finding these opportunities on offense. It's kind of the dilemma of this series so far. Your defense is starting to crumble, but your offense is starting to heat up. It turns into more of a Wild West shootout-like game at the end of it, but the Eclipse, they're looking for this opening goal. That demo's certainly going to open up space. Power play for the time being. They're not able to find anything off the back of it. Sir Holdspace respawns before any kind of value can be found from the Eclipse. They'll continue on with the ball down in their opponent's half, but no shots just yet. Back and forth gameplay, and no goals found as we enter this final 2 minutes of game number 1.
Oh, Knights with a good look at this one. Mercury off the bar from the pass by Green Jeans. Won't quite get there as it just rings off the bar and stick. Big miss by Holdspace though. The Eclipse can't convert. Hone the Man puts it high up the bar and lurks in from Tex as that one dribbles in. 2 good looks at it for the Eclipse, and they finally get the breakthrough.
It might be the straw that breaks the camel's back, but it's a great goal at that. Puts it right behind the defender, and 1-0 now for the Eclipse is a start worth being excited about, especially with 90 seconds and some change left to go in this game. The Knights are now fighting from the low ground. They need to find this goal quick, but the Eclipse are not letting up any sort of pressure. Not Henry continuing to go at terminal velocity at that ball, trying to find that second goal. Give the lead something a little bit more comfortable for the Eclipse to deal with, but hold on here. Some bumps could come through. Demos as well, opening up some space. Now the Knights not letting the Eclipse cross midfield. The Tex steps up, gets that shot on target, at least alleviates the midfield control. It's a double commit, and no one's made contact, but Tex is the hero, keeps it off the goal line, continuing on with this advantage, but the Eclipse, they're starting to run out of style.
That's a huge save for the Eclipse there. The double commit, double whiff as well out of them in transition. Left it opening. Green Jeans looking for a highlight candidate off the backboard. Can't quite get the double. And the Knights' pressure at midfield kind of falls away. Both players gone back looking for boost. Playing the long ball, maybe trying to catch the Eclipse in transition as they bring it upfield looking for an opening as well to double the lead. We'll see if that works out for the Knights here. They need the goal. Remember, down 1-0 here in game 1 with 30 seconds to go.
It's been a little bit of time since we saw the Knights really on offense as well. I mean, we've got 25 seconds left. The offense is going to have to come out if they want a shot to sending us to overtime. It just feels like the Eclipse are playing the ball a little bit faster. They're quicker on the pace. They're quicker on these shots, and they're not giving any space over to the Knights to work with. Now, last 10 seconds of the game, not Henry's going to put it off the wall. I think that they can feel confident in the fact that one goal might win this, but the Knights certainly don't want to go down without a fight. One final touch, it's going to get spiked into the ground. Eclipse take game number 1 off the back of that opening goal.
It wasn't quite the offensive stanza that we saw in the last series, but it really was effective for the Eclipse when they got that pressure on, when they forced the Knights into a couple of mistakes. They managed to sneak that one through. The Knights, for their credit, they just didn't have this effective pressure on the Eclipse net that we were kind of hoping for to try and generate those better chances. A lot of the times, once they got the ball free, it kind of fell back out to midfield where the Eclipse were very well positioned to pick things up. Tex doing a very good job from that midfield line in towards the offensive end for the Eclipse, just holding pressure and maintaining pressure and eventually getting the opening goal off of a bit of a spill in front of the net for the Knights. 1-0 lead by the Eclipse in game 1 and in the series. We'll see if the Knights have what it takes to rally back and tie it up in game 2.
One thing you were talking about, Inanimate, was the fact that it felt like the Knights were taking shots and then it was just kind of trickling back out towards midfield where the Eclipse they were perfectly set up for. I think that's absolutely the X factor in this game, is the fact that the Eclipse just had the better midfield presence. If you can prevent the ball from crossing your own midfield line just over and over and over again, not giving any sort of strong opportunity over to your opponents, you're going to likely have more goals at the end of it just based off of sheer brute force of offensive play. Now, we're hopping into game number 2. It's a new space. We've seen teams play a little bit more passive in game number 1 and really start to flourish their cards here in game number 2. But that starts right now with Sir Holdspace looking to get on the ball, but there's 2 people in the corner. Bumps are coming out. No opportunity found or given over just yet. But the Eclipse had an opening there, just weren't positioned enough to be able to get on the other end of that.
They don't really need to get on the end of every chance right now, because what they're doing very well is letting the Knights play into their essentially a midfield trap. They drop back, they leave often two, maybe even three players behind that ball, behind the halfway line, and they let the Knights send the ball right up to them. They expect that first touch to be one that the Knights can't follow up on, so they know there isn't going to be a heavily contested follow-up to that play. It lets Tex and not Henry, especially, as the ones who mainly are those two behind the defensive line, it lets them just get these good, consistent touches on the ball that force the Knights to scramble back and allows these sequences of pressure to come in for the Eclipse.
Pressure right now has been continuing over from game number 1, where it feels like this ball is just allergic to the navy purple half of the field. Navy purple isn't a color, but the point remains, it's just not sitting in the purple net for that long of a time. And when you're not having that consistent pressure, you're not finding the shots off the back of it. The same in this series so far, only 2 total shots, 1 apiece for the Knights and the Eclipse. But so far, the Eclipse have had much more control across the pitch, and that's going to benefit you in the long run a little bit better as this gets awkward. Mercury gets absolutely obliterated. The double tap comes through, but it's not able to find the goal. It ricochets back off the backboard. An opportunity missed by the Eclipse, and the Knights will look to regroup and start moving down the field offensively.
Good look by the Knights as Mercury looking for the end of the pass from Sir Holdspace. Just doesn't quite get enough of it. A great save by the Eclipse to get this one out. That one looking almost like it might sneak in front of Tex from Green Jeans, but it doesn't quite go. Still opportunities for the Knights as Mercury pulls a double commit out of the Eclipse defense. The best thing with the pressure we've seen out of the Knights, and they get their reward. Holdspace on the 50 makes it 1-0.
This is the textbook example on how mistakes can snowpile. It wasn't just a double commit. All 3 members of the Eclipse were jumping in front of the goal, praying that that one didn't fly in, and they weren't in a position to defend that second shot. 1-0, and we're kicking off with a Knights advantage. It's stark contrast to what we saw in game number 1, but that's when we can move forward and make changes across this series as it goes on. Long, booming shot off the backboard. Follow-up comes through, and Sir Holdspace takes the advantage for the Knights.
Sometimes the best play is to boom it in a tough spot. Henry backing up towards net for the Eclipse, trying to read this bounce off the backboard. Ponanan and Tex both also trying to get across to that one. It's Sir Holdspace who holds the space effectively, gets up high, gets the goal, and gets the Knights out to a 2-0 lead in game 2.
Yeah, it's not just I think I made the call that they took the advantage, but they even have more than that. They're taking 3-0 now as the Knights offense has come out of the brush and has started showing just how absolutely volatile it can be.
First touch by non-Henry on that clear. Just left a little bit too much to ask for out of the Eclipse defense there. It lets Mr. Green Jeans line up a great angle on that high 50 up in the intersection on the sidewall there. Just rolls that one top corner for the Knights offense. 3-goal lead here, Junior. More offense we've seen out of them all through game 1, all through the first half of game 2 now. It's felt like pretty much in their control, although this one might sneak in for the Eclipse, and it does. Good job by Tex picking up the pieces on that one, makes it 3-1.
This is a good capitalization right here. Mr. Green Jeans gets his momentum caught, moving a bit too close to the near post. 3-1 now. Eclipse has started to find at least a stepping stone up to at least equalize this game. The first goal is obviously a part of that, and the offense comes back in spades. If I'm the Eclipse, I'm kind of wondering after the start of this game, like, what changed for the Knights? Well, it looks like they found their answer. The pressure is starting to come back, at least be matched once again for the Eclipse. The Knights, they're holding on, though. They do have the advantage. They could just sit back, park the bus if they really wanted to, but now they've got to know that the Eclipse, they're barreling down their throats. They're looking for every opportunity. They're not going down without at least a sliver of a fight forward.
That shot by Mercury, just trying to keep the play alive. I think opens the door for the Eclipse in transition, because both the other Knights players having to transition back here, still high up in the Eclipse, and Tex will keep it alive. Looking for that near post shot. It's actually Ponanan that comes up over the top, and not Henry gets beat by the flick play by Mercury. Looking for one more in transition, but Tex again back to clear that one away. Big performance so far out of Tex with at least the 1 goal for the Eclipse and 3 saves to go with it. They still have a chance now, and even more so because of that defensive touch.
Gotta get back into this, though. It might be holding on for dear life for the Knights, as they do have the advantage. They're keeping the ball down in the Eclipse half, but the Eclipse, they're starting to show up. The sun's coming out, and not Henry's floating over the top. 3-2 now. This is absolutely a ball game with the last minute and change left in this game.
Nope, moves back in front of the Sun Jr. Henry goes coast to coast with that one past all three Knights defenders in transition to put the Eclipse within one goal here of forcing at least a showdown towards overtime on Neo Tokyo.
Yeah, it seems like the Knights had a strong lead. It seemed like they were playing as a cohesive unit, but now, last 60 seconds, and the Eclipse have given themselves a chance right here. If I was the Knights, I would be absolutely terrified with this offense that there's being applied right now, but here's the double commits. The nerves are coming out. Mr. Green Jeans, he'll steal that away, but it's off the back of Mercury's pass. 4-2, two-goal advantage refound.
That's unfortunate, as Henry, I don't think, got quite all of that one. Might have been a little bit put off by Tex being there, as the Eclipse gets stuck in their own end. The Knights find that opening, restore the two-goal lead. Might just be enough to get them over the line. We'll see after this kickoff as it falls favorably for the Eclipse.
Yeah, it's in this Knights half. It's a long shot, though. It might pinball around, but no, it doesn't find the back of the net. Sir Holdspace just keeps it high and lofted. They're trying to burn out Beast from the Eclipse so they have no opportunity to move down the pitch at the end of it. Mercury with a nice 50 out. It's another shot that comes through. The save comes in, whether by Pone or by Tex. It's enough to keep the 3-goal deficit from manifesting itself. Now long shot by Mercury, booming this ball as deep down the field as they can go. They've got 10 seconds to hold on to this lead. Not that much time to score 2 goals, and right now they're sitting comfortably. Tex with a touch. It's off the backboard, but this game's done and dusted. It's going to bounce all the way down the field, and the Knights are going to come away with a game number 2 victory to send us into Forbidden Temple with a tied series score.
Much stronger performance out of the Knights in this game, almost like the stream jitters finally came away from this one. Mercury putting on 6 of the 11 shots out of the Knights in game number 2. No goals to speak of, but a couple of helpers in that one that saw the Knights take this one 4-2. The Eclipse under a lot of pressure, Junior. Savior medals out of every single member of the Eclipse roster, as that one just felt like it never really got going for them in a lot of ways. The Knights out in front very early. The Eclipse, although they brought it back within a goal at one point, just didn't really feel like they had that same kind of flow that they did in game 1.
It seemed like Eclipse just could post up at the midfield line and just be that siege machine that the Knights could not get past. Suddenly, in game number 2, it looked like Eclipse, they wanted to get that pressure going, but the Knights had adapted so perfectly, so flawlessly, that the game plan had changed so much that that strategy of remaining that aggressively at the midfield was just not going to work out at the end of it. So game number 2, it swings in the favor of the Knights, and the adjustments that were made were well-reasoned and acceptable at that. It's 1-1 now in the series. As we head into Forbidden Temple, I don't think this next game is going to be very peaceful at all. I'm expecting fireworks out of both these teams on both camps to see who's going to take the advantage in this series. And, well, if the Knights play like they did in game number 2, if the Eclipse play like they do in game number 1, there's so many X factors, so many decisions that are made minute by minute that is going to come down to the wire.
That's the beauty when you split the first 2 games of the set. You really just don't have a true sense of which team is the superior team at this point. And it's really going to come down to who blinks first in game number 3. A lot of series won and lost on Forbidden Temple in many ways, Junior. We'll see which team comes out of this one first.
Eclipse already starting off with his possession down in the Knights half. Pone's going to step up, be the next man to challenge, as this one just looks to stay in the silver half. But no, the armor's raining down. The Knights are coming in. No shot found off the back, but thought that was going to be the counterattack where they can maybe find that opening goal once again, keep that energy alive from game number 2. They don't convert, though. Boost may be low on the Eclipse, but this ball does reside down in the Knights half as Eclipse, they're looking to work the ball around. No touches found. Nice shot by No Henry, but no! Mercury's able to put that one away. Keeps it at midfield. Sir Holdspace with another follow-up passing play. It's back and forth opportunities. None of them convert so far.
Mercury in the top 10 for Academy League standard in saves, marching up the leaderboard so far with this performance so far. And you get the sense that if the Knights are going to find strength on the defensive side, it's going to be Mercury that gets the majority of those saves for them. Just really well positioned. That one floating. Tex can't get all of it, and Sir Holdspace follows through. The Eclipse blink first, and the Knights lead.
This is a hard one to deal with if you're Tex, because you're not only backwards, but having to read a ball, just loft it up towards your goal. It's a soft touch, but that's really all he could do in that scenario. 1-0. It's an unfortunate touch by the Eclipse, but it spells the first goal for the Knights, which is a great thing. It's always good to score that first one, at least in any game that you play in. Now they just have to hold on to this lead. It's simplified, maybe too far down, but at the very least, first 90 seconds, Knights have the advantage, and they're looking good right now in terms of pressure.
A longtime commentary partner of mine will always say that one goal is enough to win this series, win the game, and potentially the series at times. And the Knights really just have exactly that. All they need to get out of this one with a game win. That one by Sir Holdspace bouncing off the bar and away. The Eclipse try to get this out in transition. You look at the boost numbers for them. Not Henry doing work with no boost. 2 bumps, but can't quite clear the road for Pwn the Man as the Knights will scramble that one away. A good opportunity for the Eclipse just goes wanting still.
He turned himself into a wrecking ball, and even that was not enough to tear down the walls of the Knights. Now, 2.5 minutes and change left to go. Texas is going to take a shot, but Mr. Greenjean is able to get over it. It's saying out here in the Knights' half. The Eclipse are trying to bring the pressure, but when the Knights are so effortlessly able to break the ball out of their own half, at least get an opportunity downfield, that starts to wear and tear away at your offensive confidence. And, well, at least a little bit more than 2 minutes left to go. They've got to get something going. The Eclipse are down by 1. They need a goal sooner rather than later if they want to take this one away from the Knights.
The Eclipse aren't doing what was successful for them in Game 1 as successfully here in Game number 3. That midfield pressure isn't really working out for them right now, and I can't tell if it's just that the Eclipse are being a little bit less disciplined when it comes to holding that line, or the Knights are being that much more disciplined when it comes to their clearance possession. We'll have to see if that settles down for either team, as Greenjean's looking for Sir Holdspace on the long bomb. Will actually follow this one up, has the Eclipse in a tough spot on the goal line. Mercury won't find it, gets the pinch wrong, and it stays 1-0.
It's chaos right now in the Eclipse goal line. I don't know how at least one of those shots didn't go in, but sometimes that's just how Rocket League works. As Johnny Boy once said, such is Rocket League. No goal found at the end of that offensive onslaught just put on by the Knights, but the Eclipse still have themselves a fighting chance right now. It's going to bounce off the bottom waterfall favorably for the Eclipse. Off the ceiling once again. This pressure can continue. Boost is being expended. Nice shot comes in off the crossbar once again. It's too high to find the inside of the uprights as Mr. Greenjeans will look just to buy some time, at least keep it out to midfield. The Knights, they've got a 1-goal lead, but they've got a minute to hold on to it, or else we're headed to overtime.
Mercury holding this one in for the Knights, as it just feels like the better chances, the better sequences of play have come out of the Knights. The Eclipse have had opportunities. This one, a good looking pass infield by Tex towards Pwn the Man, gets cleared away by Sir Holdspace. Another save notched up for the Knights on this one. They've had a few here to keep their noses clean on this one, as the Eclipse have put pretty much everything within the frame of goal. Still alive here. Tex bounces this one up with 30 to go, but a good clear by the Sir Holdspace will allow the Knights to clear this one. Mercury looking long. Tex in a tough spot, and it's in. The Knights lead 2-0.
It's so unfortunate that Tex has been in the wrong place, or at the right place, just with the wrong momentum. He jumps up for this once again. It's almost identical to how the first goal was scored, except he puts in the last touch. 2-0. I think you hinted on this, Inanimate, that the pressure was there for the Eclipse. They were throwing everything they had at the wall. They just weren't able to convert a single one of those. And when it comes down to the wire shots or everything, nice touch off the crossbar once again. Another shot goes awry. The Eclipse, they're put on 6 shots so far. None of them have gone through, and in the waning seconds of this game, it's looking like the Knights are going to take control of this series as the ball is going to hit the ground, the clock's going to hit 0. Game 3 is going to go to the Knights off the back of some strong early and mid-game presence that the Eclipse just weren't able to bite back from.
Again, just that midfield line that won them game number 1, Junior, not really working the same way as it was previously. They weren't able to hold the Knights into their end to make them really struggle with a defensive clear. And it let the Knights get good possession upfield. It forced the Eclipse to have to play more in transition, where it seems like they don't have that same level of comfort. And at that point, it really just comes down to finding your opportunities, making them count. And for the Knights this time, they really make it count. They move to match point.
We hit this swing game Control of the series has shifted in favor of the Knights, but this series is far from won just yet. We have not determined a victor by any means whatsoever. The Eclipse, it's like you were talking about, Inanimate, how they had that pressure in game number 1, and they just haven't been able to replicate it in game numbers 2 and 3. This series is being taken away from them as they just haven't been able to adapt in the same way as the Knights have. Now, speaking of the Knights, whatever they did in game number 2 and 3, it is working in spades, whether it was the rotation, whether it's the speed of play. What they are doing right now is spot on. It is absolutely crippling the Eclipse. If they keep up this pressure and the Eclipse fail to make these noticeable changes that are going to move on forward, the Knights have control of this series. They're in the heads of the Eclipse. Something's going to have to change. It's going to have to change right now.
Well, the beautifully lit evening version of Utopia Coliseum will see Game 4 start out in the Knights' end. Not a lot of early pressure out of the Eclipse, a couple of throws towards that backboard, but not a lot of really meaningful touches yet so far. The first 15 seconds. Green Jeans for the Knights. Bounce this one out looking for a second touch. Gets it underneath Not Henry for the Eclipse, and not as far as the midfield line for the Knights here. Still back and forth. It feels like the Eclipse already early on in Junior trying to drop back, allow the Knights to play into that space, and then take the ball away from them there. Another example of that is Tex will hold this one in for more pressure out of the Eclipse. Not Henry, not enough boost in the tank. And the first couple of chances go the Eclipse way, but nothing really meaningful as we hit the first minute gone.
The opportunities are there, it just lacks that final step forward into the dance that is these goals that need to be scored. First minute of the game so far, it's a miss at midfield by Not Henry as this one just works all the way back. Mr. Green Jean steps up big time, puts it over to Mercury as they'll finally start to find some possession here. Some double commits, some miscommunications. They're starting to come out for the Eclipse. They haven't been punished for it just yet, but you can feel that they're just riding the needle's edge right now. Nice touch by Not Henry. He's immediately stopped by Mr. Green Jeans. This ball is just not allowed to go anywhere but the midfield line. It's a nice follow-up touch. Mercury puts that into the bottom corner for no reason. It's 1-0 for the Knights.
The first play by Not Henry kind of stonewalled, then doesn't quite win the challenge up the sideboard. There had to go for it, just doesn't get enough content. And unfortunately for the Eclipse defense, it's right to Mercury, who gets a great shot from the center, puts the first one up. Same amount of time in game 4 as it took in game number 3. A minute and 23 seconds as we had lead on the clock.
It feels like in the first game that Eclipse were able to start off that early game with the offensive control, but as the Knights have taken that away, the Eclipse have lacked the strength to bounce completely back. They've been able to find a goal here or there in the last couple of games, but they haven't been able to, when they've dropped this opening goal, I mean, it's made it a whole lot harder for them on defense and offense alike. Now a double commit is coming out from the Knights. This can open up a ton of space to work with, but Tone doesn't get the kind of power on that shot that he would have liked. Tex is the last man back. He'll do well to conserve boost, at least put it into his corner. Actually does his job and even more as he completely bails them out. Tone can take up possession and start working this down the field for the Eclipse.
Ooh, falls in a good spot. Tex can't quite find it. Great bounce shot, top 90, crossbar, and away. At this point, you have to feel for the Eclipse as they've had good looks. There was one shot very similar to that in game number 3 that didn't go their way, and they're still trying to chase it down here in this game number 4. Floating in front of the net, a good touch by Mr. Green Jeans keeps that one away for the Knights.
Still around this midfield area. You can see the Eclipse want to set up that midfield wall so badly. The problem is that they don't have the same sort of coherency as we've seen previously. That one bounces right in front of the 6, but no one from the Knights is there to bash that one home. It's staying in the Knights' half as this Eclipse pressure continues on, but a huge gap is opened up by Sir Holdspace. Driving down the field, it's going to be off the ceiling. Opportunity by Mercury. He's going to go for the bounce shot, finds the pinch instead. 2-0, and the Knights take the advantage once again, if not even more.
Henry trying to get that one cleared, doesn't quite get the angle right, had to touch the ball, was only able to go straight up off the ceiling. Mercury gets a great read on that as both Eclipse players stuck in the net, helpless to watch that ball bounce down into the shot, and it goes right on in. The Eclipse with a ton of work to do here, Junior. Down 2 with a minute 50 to go.
2 minutes or less and 2 goals to find against a defense of the Knights that is playing as strongly as they are. It's a tough feat at that, but it makes a victory, or rather sending to overtime, even sweeter if they can accomplish that. Last 90 seconds of this game. Eclipse needs something going now. It feels like all of the cards have gone against them so far. You've got to play the hand that is dealt. That 50 by Sir Holdspace almost results in another goal found by the Knights, as right now the Eclipse just don't seem like they can get anything going in their favor. It's going to be a nice pass, but it's an even better clear, and Tex is going to get caught off guard. It's a nice follow-up by Mr. Green Jeans as they extended the lead once again to 3-0, 3 unanswered for the Knights.
That play by Sir Holdspace to get the clear off the low pass infield attempt out of Non-Henry. Did a good job, Non-Henry, to try and get that ball upfield, but the last touch is the thing that goes missing for the Eclipse. It falls low to 2 players in the net on the clear. The first touch is great, puts both Eclipse players in transition in a tough spot, all the way into the net by Green Jeans. And this one just about wraps up the game and the series win for the Knights, as Pone the Man can't quite get that one on 1 minute and keeps the Eclipse down by 3.
The sad thing is that at this point, the Eclipse have simply made more unforced errors than the Knights have, and that's what wins and loses series down here in the Academy League. You've got to maintain, or at least get rid of as many mistakes as you can out of your style, but right now that's just not the case that's happened. 30 seconds left to find 3 goals is a tall order at that. Certainly doable, but probable maybe not so much as time ticks down as we're about to head into game number 5, and the Knights looking to take the series advantage, rather the majority of the games moving forward. These misses on the backboard, these shots that are coming in by the Knights, it's too much to handle for the Eclipse, but they are able to get that one out. Maybe they can find a goal for the road, some stats to pad. 5 seconds left. This one's going in favor of the Knights. They have played so far with the fewest amount of mistakes, and they are going to be taking home the majority of the games in this series. We're not done yet. We've got game number 5, but the Knights are looking incredibly strong so far in these last 3 games.
The big performance out of the Knights here as they move up to 18 and 16 so far on their season records. If you're keeping track at home, that's tied with the Eclipse. That's a big thing when we're talking about playoff standings, because the way that Academy, Champion League, and Master League work for playoff qualification, it's only the division winners that get in. Beyond that, it's the best 3 remaining teams in the conference. So a series win that ties you at the very least with your opposition, big. If they can get the 4th win out of this one too, even bigger, because that puts them a game ahead. That puts them in the driver's seat as we get down to the business end of the season, Junior. That's where, heroes are made in those final weeks of the season. The people that come up big to get you into the playoffs, and then have to have another big week right after, winning a wild card series against what is always tough opposition.
The Eclipse have everything to fight for those reasons you just presented, Inanimate. It's not over just yet. We have one final game to play in this series, and for the Eclipse, this can mean everything in terms of playoff ramifications, in terms of shaking up the leaderboards. If there is any game to show us something that we haven't quite seen, try something new. At the very least, you lose 1-4, but there's still the chance to go 2-3 on this series. There is still the chance to take another game off of the Knights, and that starts right here. Game number 5. We're chilling on Manfield, looking to see if the Eclipse can bounce back or if the Knights are going to continue their charge downfield. Sir Holdspace, he can't quite find it, but a strong clear since the Knights packing all the way back to their half.
It was a good pinch clear here, and the Eclipse want to come out hungry to this one here. A win keeps them ahead of the Knights in the standings, but they're going to have to do it chasing this one down as Green Jeans for the Knights in transition makes it 1-0.
This is just off the back of some expedient play. Maybe a bump at midfield opens up the space even further. Non-Henry tries to recover, but he's not quick enough on those side flips or the wave dashes. 1-0 early on. The Knights are not letting up any sort of pressure. This one might just bounce in off the kickoff, though. He got an immediately equal game as Tex finds this one somehow off the kickoff.
All right, take the sign of 45, and you know what? Screw it. Caster math ain't worth it. That one straight into the upper 90. It's back to square one with 21 seconds off the clock.
Yeah, effectively a 0-0 game. We start over from scratch. It's just a less perfect number on the scoreboard outside of 5 minutes. 1-1. Both these teams get their goals early on, and now they can start moving forward, settling in, playing in the offensive space that they need to. It's going to be a nice shot by Sir Holdspace as the double demo comes out. Pone gets the man, but not the ball. 2-1, the advantage retaken by the Knights.
Touch is so awkward by Tex, knowing they need to keep control of that ball at midfield, just doesn't quite get enough of it, falls into a tough spot for Pone the man in a one-on-one against Sir Holdspace, who just gets enough of the 50 to put that one through. That one tough to swallow if you're a fan of the Eclipse right now.
Yeah, but they're even bouncing back on offense. Pone the man, he's found himself with some pressure at that. The problem is that both members of his team are as spread out as you can ask for, not able to follow up on that opportunity just created right there. A nice touch by Mr. Green Jeans, at least buys some time for his teammates to rotate in to get set up for the attack about to come through, and the time was well needed. Sir Holdspace puts it right around the midfield zone. Mercury can follow up as this ball trends right in the purple half for the time being, but no other goal has been found. It is only a 1-goal advantage or a 1-goal deficit, depending on how you look at it. Mr. Holdspace comes in from the top of the attacking third, 3-1, as they take a 2-goal advantage.
That would be Sir Holdspace, Order of the British Empire to you. That one is a clean read off the backboard. It is open as you'd like it, as the Eclipse can't quite defend that one to put the 2-goal lead up here early in game number 5.
Yeah, it's a great goal found right there in the Eclipse. If there's any opportunity to move forward to maybe find a second game here at the end of this series, it's right now. There's all 3s on the scoreboard, well, minus the goals scored by the Eclipse. They need to find some sort of opportunity quick. Nice touch by Not Henry, keeps this down at midfield. They'll flick it over one. They've bought some time, they've bought some space. It's an awkward shot, it's going to be touched away. Tex can step up, but no, Green Jean steps up. Just the cohesiveness right now for the Knights is absolutely immaculate. Just being there to follow up with that shot, it feels like the rotations are tighter, it feels like they're much more clean, and because of that, it's why there's this lofty advantage found so early on in game number 5.
Say that part of it is the rotations, part of it too is the Eclipse showing a little bit of frustration in their play. The first touches that they're getting on some of these plays leave a lot of work to be done, and at this level, that work just isn't quite going to come through, as Green Jeans will put in the 4th for the Knights here against the Eclipse on the defense. A great hold by Mercury, just knocks that down in front of all 3 Eclipse players. I got it, you take it. It's a tough one no matter how you slice it, and Green Jeans finds a great angle to put a 3-goal lead up for the Knights.
Green Jeans gets his brace, joins Sir Holdspace on that leaderboard standing. But I mean, we're about to cross halftime. It's a 4-1 advantage. If the Knights can score 4 goals in half the game, then so can the Eclipse. The difficulty with that is that the Eclipse have not shown us that same sort of consistency like we've seen out of them before. Game number 1 was really the last of the consistent Eclipse that we've seen so far. We've seen moments of brilliance, but nothing consistent enough to consider themselves a beacon of hope moving forward. Last half of this entire series, of this entire night at that, the Eclipse want to move down the field. They want to get something, but they get left all scrambling back. A miss by Sir Holdspace at midfield. It's a lofted shot underneath the crossbar. Mr. Green Jeans with the hat trick. 5-1 now with 2 minutes and change left to play.
I really don't know why the Eclipse didn't challenge that one there. Tex, I think, just looking to try and save the shot because there was so much space to try and cover, and both Eclipse players just getting stuck underneath that shot. It's a great shot nonetheless. Bar down and in. 5-1 lead. The Knights walking away with Game 5 at this point.
It's starting to get a little bit out of hand in terms of the defense from the Eclipse. It just feels like they want to kind of go on home, but that's not the kind of mentality you've got to have right now. You've got to be finding these goals at the very least to pad the stats. The Knights are feeling comfortable. If there was a time to strike, it's right now. It just doesn't seem like they're playing that aggressively. They're still in damage control mode when they should be trying to turn themselves into that wrecking ball. Now, final 90 seconds of play in this entire series. It's looking very confident that the Knights are going to be taking this one as they continue to rattle on shot after shot, keep the pressure up after opportunity after opportunity. They need to keep this up for the Knights, or else the Eclipse, they still have a window to get back in. It's a small one at that. It might be the eye of the needle, but they can still work their way through if they start bringing up the pressure right now.
One of the things that the Eclipse, I think, have kind of struggled with, Tex will put one in here, but they've just kind of struggled with their timing. We've seen a couple of times where they've dropped off away from Knights' possession. It's opened up shooting angles for the Knights to go after. They've also equally kind of run out early when they get good control of the ball, and then a good 50 by the Knights at midfield forced them back to try and scramble. 67 seconds on the clock, a good favorable kickoff for them here too, as Not Henry will look to try and get one in off that. Mercury doesn't quite have all of that. Tex can put it in. All right, Junior, game on. It's 5-3.
All right, hold the phone. There's still a chance. A goal every 30 seconds. This is absolutely doable in Texas. The counter or the cataract for that coming through. 2 goals found in quick succession. Actually, all 3 goals being found by Tex so far. We've got a minute to do it. We've got ourselves a ball game here. The Eclipse are heating up. They're starting to find these opportunities. Tex hitting it off the rear of his car. It's down to Not Henry, but the touch by Mercury is off. Hurl Space and Mercury both commit there. They're starting to get a little bit nervous, the Knights are. This lead is definitely not safe at this point. With the expediency that the Eclipse are able to put on the ball, it seems like it's just kind of rolling as the Knights sit back. It's starting to get a little bit dangerous now. They didn't find a goal in the first 30 seconds. That means they have to find a goal every 15 seconds now if they want to at least tie this up. But the Knights, they're starting to put their foot on the gas once again. Maybe put the spurs into the horse once more. Try to get this energy back up for the final 20 seconds.
Well, this isn't where the Eclipse want to be playing, defending their backboard, defending their net, as Tex has to get forced into another save for the Eclipse. Final 10 of this game, starting to count down. Not Henry trying to look for one last chance. Tex trying to get that one through, won't beat Mercury as another save comes in for the Knights. That does it. The Knights will walk out of this one 4-1 on the set. They'll take the advantage in the season standings, Junior, and with that, their fate is in their hand through the final weeks of the regular season.
Clips take game number 1. We talk about how they're playing so well at the midfield and they just aren't able to bounce back from that. It goes from 1-0 from the Eclipse to 4-1 for the Knights. Just at the snap of a finger, that lead is gone. And the Knights play incredibly well. It's almost like they came out with a bit of a weaker standing, at least in game number 1. They were playing a little bit more loosey-goosey, and then they tightened up all of those straps. They were able to move on forward. The Eclipse not able to match the game plan, the pace, the velocity, really any of the Rocket League terms you can bring up towards the end of that series as the Knights take this one in a dominant fashion at that.
It didn't feel like it was going to be that way after game 1. It felt like the Eclipse had a game plan in mind. It felt like they were executing, and all of a sudden, it just stopped happening. As soon as we hit Neo Tokyo, it wasn't really working out for them, and they never quite found a way back into this series. If they end up missing out on the playoffs down the stretch, this one might be the series they look back on with a little bit of regret. But that, my friends, is going to do it for you and I and for Minor League Esports. Make sure you hit the follow button. We'll be back tomorrow night, as usual, 6 p.m. Eastern on MLE Esports GG2, as well as 7 p.m. Eastern for MLE Esports GG1. For myself and Junior and everybody behind the scenes at the production, thank you so much for watching. Stick around for the host, and we'll see you tomorrow for Showdown Sunday.